So, great. All righty. Well, welcome to this webinar. When we initially thought about setting it up, I thought we could use the Zoom webinar feature, except that means that I would just be talking.
I can't hear it again.
You what?
The Zoom meeting.
Yeah, so that's why Zoom meeting is better. So what I want to talk with you about is creating a virtual choir. So the focus of what we're going to do is looking at, we always call them virtual choirs. I think it's more accurate to call it a collaborative video. I'm not going to be talking about how to run a Zoom choir rehearsal. That being said, I did 3 of them this week, and there are ways to do it, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. I'm also not going to be talking about the many ways of using technology to connect with choristers. There are interesting developments in low latency audio and ways that people can actually sing together without being physically together. That'll be a great subject for another webinar. And I'm going to be focused specifically on small church choirs. When I was putting this together, I have a particular church in mind, and it's a church in Ottawa that has a very competent organist and 8 people in the choir. And I'm worried that those 8 people think that they can't do something like a collaborative video because that's just for fancy choirs or professional singers. And I'm hoping that well, as we talk, that you will get, first of all, an overall idea of what a collaborative video is. So you understand exactly the nature of it, what it is and what it isn't. And also that you will get an understanding of the process that's involved so that you can maybe get a vision for what your choir might do, and by understanding the process, be able to extrapolate it into your specific situation. And I hope that you get a little bit of artistic inspiration, just to think, even in COVID time, what can we do? How can we make music together? So I want to start with a few examples and just sort of show you the sort of thing we're talking about. So this is a screenshot of a duet that I recorded. Now you can see there's more than 2 windows, but you'll see this is Laudamos Te from the Vivaldi Gloria. So here's the 2 sopranos in the middle, organ, double bass, violin, viola, harpsichord, cello. One of the things with something like this is that the layout took a long time, just because of the way some of the videos are horizontal, some are vertical. So, but that's an idea. That's something to think about. This is a bigger selection. This is my choir singing a hymn, "Oh Praise Ye the Lord." But it's the idea is everybody recorded their lick at home, and then we put it all together. One of the things I liked about this is I had some choristers who I wanted to represent in a special way. So over here on the right-hand side, this is Bev. She spends the summer at her cottage on the Ottawa River. I said, Bev, you've got to record your video outdoors where it looks like we can see where you're spending your summer. You see here, there's 2 babies as well. I'm really big on this because both these girls were pregnant. They were in the choir when they got pregnant, so we went through their whole pregnancy. So these babies are members of the choir. And I love being able to use collaborative videos as a way of strengthening the personal aspect of being in the choir. I have a theory, and my theory is that people miss being in church, but what they miss about it, first and foremost, is being with each other. And so everything that I'm doing these days is really focused on how can we use technology or music to connect people with each other and to remind people of how good it feels to be together. It feels great to make music together, but also just to be together. Here's one of my favorite collaborations. This is called the COVID Cello Project. It's 278 cellos, and this is, I think, their 10th collaboration, but anybody can join. And this is, you know, so once you get going and making collaborative videos, this can be your goal, to have every person in your denomination that you can possibly think of. So today, the piece that I chose for us to use as our collaboration that we're going to build is Lead Me, Lord, and you would have received the music, so you can keep track of that. Lead Me, Lord by Samuel Sebastian Wesley. What I was looking for was a piece that was for a small choir, a piece that's accompanied, and that had minimal other requirements, so it's very basic. So have a look at this right here. See the layout on the screen, that we've got the organ in the middle, and then the soprano, alto, tenor, bass, that they're the way the quadrants are set up on the video. And that the actual design of the video is a really big deal. So that's why I'm pointing out to you now. Just think of it, how is this set up? So I thought maybe let's take a listen and let's hear what this sounds like. I'll show you the final version of Lead Me, Lord, and then we'll back up and we'll see how did this happen. Okay, there we go. So that gives you a basic idea of what a collaborative video is like. And you can imagine, if you extrapolate this to your own choir, that, you know, you could think of how many windows there would be, how many people would be involved. But I just want to try and give you a vision of what your choir might look like actually on the screen, how it might be set up. So I thought it's important to talk to you about understanding the screen size. So I've put this little grid on here to represent a 16:9 screen. That is, it's 16 across by 9 up and down. And this is the standard size on YouTube, on Vimeo, on most things that go out today. Why you need to be aware of that is that this is the standard size of your telephone, but turned sideways. So if you're going to use your phone to take a video of yourself, you would be reading it sideways. I always have my choristers take the videos with the telephone upright, and then we resize it. You might think about, if your choir was in a video, how many windows would there be? As you can see with that window, with that particular piece, there were 5 participants. And relative importance, well, since it was my video, I thought I was terribly important. So put the organ in the middle. But you know, you can think, soloists, remember the picture I showed you of the Vivaldi duet. So the soloists were big and they were surrounded by the orchestra. If you can think about what would look good, what would represent the sound of the choir and the way that the choir feels and interacts. Now, I've put in here the question, do you include the conductor, yes or no, in a video? And if you've been looking at various collaborative videos, you'll see some where they have, you know, the singers peppered all over the place, and in the middle is the conductor conducting away. This is very much a question of personal taste. It's not something that I do with my choirs, because I think virtual conducting is more sort of like belly dancing. It's not very relevant to the singing. But others, I saw a video from the AGO of a choir with their conductor from the recent AGO National Convention. The conductor was a guy who I think is brilliant, and he was fabulous. I couldn't take my eyes off him. So that's just a question that you want to think about for yourselves. Now, one of the important things is selecting repertoire. How do you decide the piece that you're going to do? So these are just some of my own thoughts. I think accompanied music is best because you can lean into the accompaniment and it provides something to stabilize the singing. Consider the number of singers you have per part. I'm in the middle of actually making a video with my choir for Thanksgiving, and it's a piece that has soprano, alto, and the tenors and basses are all together. And years ago, I bought it just because Thanksgiving weekend, half the choir disappears. So I wanted a piece that required fewer singers. So consider what the size of your choir is and how they might be distributed. Sing something that they love so they'll feel successful, because remember, everybody misses being together. And when they think back, they remember how it felt to sing this, that, or the other wonderful piece. And if they can sing it again, the very first collaboration I did with my choir was the Cantique de Jean Racine of Gabriel Fauré. And it was a difficult piece to collaborate on, but the choir loved it. They all love it. They can all sing it from memory. So do something that they love. And sing something by a composer who's extremely dead, because copyright is a big issue when you are streaming anything. Anything you create, you put it up to YouTube, you need a license. So do something by a composer who is dead, or write it yourself. If you do something with a living composer, as I'm doing right now, you need to get what's called a synchronizing license. And I would recommend that you sort of remember that word, because any music that's in copyright, it's not always covered by one license or by CCLI. You may have permission to put the words in your church bulletin or whatever, but you need a specific license for streaming. And as I say, it's usually referred to as a synchronizing license. I just want to tell you an experience I had getting a license for a piece, this Thanksgiving piece I'm doing. They wanted $750 a year to stream it. And it's a wonderful piece, but it's not that valuable. And then in negotiations with them, I found out that, oh, that was because I was going to put it on Vimeo. If I put it on YouTube, there's no charge. They just have a blanket license. So a lot of my public streaming stuff now goes on Vimeo. The first thing you need to do is create a sing-along track. It's also called a reference track or a click track. From the days when Hollywood orchestras would do this sort of thing, they'd create a click track that had clicks, metronome clicks in it, and then people would individually record their bit. Now, the very first thing you need is clap. You need to get your singers to clap. And what this does, you'll see in a while, is it creates a spike in the audio that allows you to then line everybody up. So I just always count down. I tell people we're going to clap on 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, clap. Okay? And that loud clap, you'll see later, it creates a spike. In your sing-along track, and that's the term that I use just so that everybody knows what it is and what it's for. In the sing-along track, you use accompaniment throughout, and that means even if there are unaccompanied bits, you play those so the singers always have something to sing to. And once you get to the end, you can count it 1, 2, 3, and people will practice with your sing-along track before they actually record themselves, and so you can remind them, you know, that's the counting is in there. If there's a particularly tricky spot, you can count them through it, or if there's a fermata, which I avoid like the plague, but you can count them through a fermata. You can count, because you have to remember your sing-along track will not be part of the final production. You're going to get rid of it, so you can include instructions or counting people through things. Once you've got a sing-along track created, you might consider creating part predominant tracks. So what I do with my choir is I create my basic accompaniment track, and then I have each of my choral scholars record their part, and I take it and I create a soprano track and an alto track. And so on those tracks, they can hear their own part and they can sing along with that. So let's just take a look at the sing-along track for Lead Me Lord. I thought you might like to have a look and just see, this is what got sent out to the singers. Okay, here we go with Samuel Sebastian Wesley's Lead Me Lord. Well, we're going to clap on 5. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Sweet. Now this is a little over the top. Yeah, there's a boo-boo. And you get the idea. So one of the things that I did with that, normally when I first started doing these, I just sent out the music to everybody, you know, the way that you were sent out copies of the Lead Me Lord, just as a PDF. And then they would just, and I sent an audio track and they would just sing along with the audio track. The better I got at it, the more I realized I could do things like actually put the music on the screen and they could sing along by reading the screen. There's lots of different ways that you can do that. And as it goes along, you will discover more interesting ways of doing things. So the singers then create their videos. You need to discover the way you're going to use to communicate your track to the singers. If it's a small MP3, you can maybe even just email it to them. Sometimes I use a website. I take a page of our parish website as a private page and load all the information up there. And I'm certainly always available to help you with any of these things if you need ideas or help. Now, listen, your singers are going to hate singing alone. Nobody likes it. Nobody. You know, I have professional singers in my choir, and they're all, oh, I sound terrible. Oh, I sound awful. Seriously, you need to remind your singers that this is not going to be the satisfying feeling of singing choir music, because when we sing in the choir, we sing together, and part of the satisfaction is breathing together and feeling each other's spirit and the sort of group karma. So it's not going to feel like that. They are not going to enjoy singing alone. Now, seriously, you need to be on top of this with your singers and tell them ahead of time it's not going to feel great. And I've even sometimes told my singers that, you know, if you're very unhappy with your sound, you can tell me and I'll mute you. I don't listen to each individual singer's sound. Who's got the time? But I tell them, if you're unhappy with your sound, send me you fish mouthing the piece, and it'll just be like religious karaoke, and I'll cancel your sound. So then another thing to consider is, how are you going to collect the videos? How they get them back to you? I use Dropbox file request, and people can send me their files. There's also Google Drive. The one thing to know is that the file size of a video is not practical to be sent by email. So you're going to need to find another way to share them, but there are definite ways to do that. So this is something that you probably want to just know. A basic concept of production for these videos is that the audio is compiled separately from the video. So we go into the audio software, and each singer's sound is imported into a separate line, and then that's all combined into one audio recording. So then in the video software, the singer's video images are imported, and their audio is muted so that it's however many squares of videos of people singing, and then the audio line is added as a separate track. So a little bit about audio production. There's a lot of different audio softwares around. A very popular one that I use is Audacity. On a Mac, you have GarageBand, but there's loads of different ways that this is done. When you bring the singers in, each singer becomes a line with waves that correspond to their singing, and you'll see this in a minute. Then through the software, you can adjust each singer's volume. You can even move, if their notes are like wrong, they're out of place, you can pick their notes up and move them. So seriously, don't you wish you could do that on Sunday morning? Well, just move your note around, and your volume, I'll just turn you up and turn you down. It's great. It's a feeling of great power. So let's check out how the audio was compiled for this video, Lead Me Lord. And I have to say that when I recorded this audio, the audio prep, my voice is a bit low, so sorry about that. By the time I created it, I couldn't bring it up. So here's the audio prep. So here we are. I'm going to load up Audacity. That's the audio program that I use. And into Audacity, I'm going to import 5 audio files. Okay, so that is, let's just get into the right area here. There's Lead Me Lord. So I've got alto, bass, organ, soprano, tenor. So I'm going to import those all. And you see they come in, they all look very different, except they all look like big lines. You can see that, for example, the very first one here, this line, that's Kara, she's the alto. And you see that it looks kind of quiet. So we'll see. Once we get listening to things, we can do some balancing. The one thing you'll notice right here is this big spike. That's where she clapped. Okay, so here's the bass, matic, C, L, M, L, lead me Lord, B, bass. So I'm going to just click on this little thing here, and I'm going to bring his clap over to line up with Kara's. Does that look about right? Hopefully, yeah. Here's the organ track. You can tell because it's very loud, and you can tell here's me counting 1, 2, 3, 4, clap. And I'll bring that and line that up with those, probably. That looks pretty good. Okay, here's soprano Carolyn. We'll select this track and we'll drag her clap over. And lastly, we'll come down. Here's the tenor Grayson, and there's his clap. Do you see it there? Do you understand what we're doing? Just lining all those claps up. Okay, so now if I start playing this back, I should hear the claps.
Lord. First of all, we're going to clap on 5. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, sounded more like a gunshot. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see who's maybe out a bit. Remember, there's a false start. Whoops. And look at the bottom line here. Here comes Grayson. He's going to sing.
Lead me, Lord, lead me in thy right.
Hold, we got to stop that. Because see how he's way behind? We're just going to pick him up and just slide him over to the left. Okay, let's try that again. We'll just try before he comes in.
Lead me, Lord, lead me in thy righteousness, make thy way plain before my face. Lead me, Lord, lead me in thy righteousness.
Wow, what a dog's breakfast. Okay, first of all, yeah, so the soprano is probably a little loud, eh? So we're just going to select the soprano's line, and the effect is amplify, but we're going to amplify her by -2. Okay, I just pull that number out of the air because I know kind of that's a little bit calmer. Then the organ is, we'll see what needs doing. The alto is practically inaudible, so we're going to choose effect and amplify, but yeah, we're going to amplify her about 4. And you see how that just makes her line a bit bigger. Okay, let's take this again. Whoops, we'll move past the false start.
Lead me, Lord, lead me in thy righteousness, make thy way plain before my face. Lead me, Lord, lead me in thy...
Okay, the bass, I'm just sort of trying to listen to stuff. You can listen like one line at a time. I'm just going to snuggle the bass over. You know what, another thing I'm going to do right here is I'm going to mute the organ. So now we know that the tenor is in time. Let's see if the others are in time with the tenor.
Before my face, lead me, Lord.
bass is ahead. We'll snuggle him back.
Lead me, Lord, lead me in thy right.
Okay, the alto here needs a little nudge. Let's see how that does.
Lead me, Lord, lead me.
Now, that was too much of a nudge. So I think maybe one of the things we want to do is perhaps isolate just the beginning. So if I go there, that's going to isolate. Yeah, you see, once I expand that, let's have a look down here. And so there's the tenor. And you see that the tenor starts singing, "Ooh," of Lead Me, Lord. There's you see right there, he's at 1.08.0. So let's pick the others up and put them all there. So there's the soprano. Good, we'll pick her up and we're just going to snuggle her back a bit. So she's basically, nah, just a bit more. So good. Now, 108.0, we also want the bass and the sopranos. Now, the bass, he kind of looks like, oh, geez. Sorry. If we're at 108.0, the bass just needs a little snug to the left, and the alto just needs a bigger snug to the right. Now you see everybody's lined up. Okay, let's listen to it and see if the voices are together.
Lead me, Lord, lead me in thy righteousness. Make thy way plain before my face.
Okay, so that gives you an idea of, you know, a bit of what goes on in the actual process of creating the audio. It's still not perfect. I think I went on for another about 15 minutes and got it. One of the things I love doing is lining all the lines up and then at the end adding reverb. And, you know, pouring reverb over those voices. It mushes them in together and they all sound like really yummy together. So that's that. Lots of fun, and I really enjoy doing that kind of thing. Now, going on with video production, you know, producing the video, a great deal depends on software. And that's one reason why I thought, you know, with today, I want to introduce you to the concept. And so you can see what the production is like, but I'm not actually teaching about how exactly you do every little step. But this is an overview. As I say, I think it's fascinating. I watch it all day, but I don't want you to go to sleep while you watch me fussing with the videos. So let's take a look. I'm going to, yeah, just a minute. Technical moment here. I just want to. So here we go. This is the video prep. So I'll show you how now, once the audio line is done, here's how I create the video. Now we're going to open our video software and load up the individual videos to create the one big long video. So let's get rid of all this crap that comes with it. And I'm going to import. So here's the videos that we want. the alto, the bass, the organ, the soprano, the tenor. So those are 5 videos, and we're also going to bring in the audio that we created. Okay, so there, we'll import those. Now, just looking at the way we want to design, I just want to pause this for a minute because I think that I haven't explained while I'm doing this. I didn't explain the screen well. You see on the left hand, here's all the individual files. Over here on the right hand side, up here on the right hand quadrant, that's the preview screen. So as we're working, that's what you sort of want to keep your eye on, and that's going to be where all the action's happening. I just wanted to point that out. Design things, we thought about putting the organ in the middle. So that is sort of pretty much that, isn't it? So you see the numbered tracks down at the side here, 1, 2, okay? So we put these videos on different tracks. So we're gonna put the organ on track 1. No. And we'll just sort of stretch it out a bit so we can see what's going on. So first of all, if you look at the waveform that comes with the organ, can you see my mouse here? Do you see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 clap? Okay, so right there, that's the clap. Then here's the false start. And because we're working from the clap, we leave the false start in for now. And much later on, we'll take it out. Okay, so the idea is actually that we would just leave the organ right there as it is. And then we'll take the upper 2 quadrants on either side and we'll put people in it. Let me turn on some grid lines here. Let's do, what, 6 by 6? Yeah, so there, that gives you a basic idea of the outline of the screen. So we'll create what we call a mask that we can put over each video that will turn it into something that's actually 3 deep by 2 wide, so it's almost squarish. Okay, so I'll show you what we mean. So next, let's bring the soprano down, and we'll put, so we put her on channel 2. Okay. Now we want to design a mask. So we go into Mask Designer, and it sort of looks like that, except we want to change a little bit. We want to change the size, and I think we want to change this to 0.5. That look about right? Let's test it, okay? So now we can pick her up and move her over here somewhere. Oh, look. So we just need to, we need to snug her up a bit and pull her down just a bit more. Maybe pull this one over a hair. So does that look good? That's going to put Carol in now. The one problem with doing this is that, you know, we're doing it by looking at one sort of lick of the video. But if she moves her head or she whatever, it's going to be weird. Okay, let's, why don't we put the alto up across from her? Okay, so we'll go back here. We'll come down to track 3, and we'll pull the alto into track 3. Okay. So now can you see down here the spike for the alto? So we're going to deal with those spikes in a minute. But first of all, we're going to make a mask for the alto. So design, Mask Designer. For the alto, we're going to lay the same mask on her, and the size, we'll do the same size ratio. So 0.5. And that's okay. Oh, whoops, just a minute. No, made a mistake. We'll go back into Mask Designer because yes, that's the mask that we want, but we actually want her face in the picture. So there we go, much better. Now we'll pick her up and we'll move her over to this corner. If we put her up in the corner, what happens if we make it larger? You can see that we just want the image to touch, but we want it to be like on that baseline in the middle, eh? So there we go. She's looking good. There we go. The last thing we want to do is look at the very end. Remember at the end, you know, everybody leans forward and pushes their button or whatever, and I take forever to turn my camera off. Let's just play the end, and we're going to stop it where we want our actual video to end. And there. Okay, so just before Grayson starts to move, let's say right about there. In fact, let me give it just a little more space. And tick. Got cut. And we're going to just select each of these and zip those, go out. And we're going to fade away at the end. So we'll come down here and we'll put a fade in each line. We'll put a fade. So you can see that I'm picking up the word fade and dropping it over each line. And I don't think we can fade an audio line. No, there we go. Okay, so let's come back and just have a look at how the end goes. And we fade away. Isn't that fabulous? Well, there you go. So it is fabulous. It gives you a bit of an idea of how the production actually happens. A couple of things I wanted to talk to you about, and one is the false start. As I say, I left it in because it happened after the clap, so we leave it, and then in the very final production, we cut everything out, including the clap and the false start. If you listened to the organ track just by itself, there are mistakes in there. And I have to say that as COVID goes on, I've become more tolerant of my humanity. So you just need to sort of have a feel for yourself of how much, what mistake level you can tolerate. I couldn't tolerate that actual bad pedal note at the false start. But if it had happened 2 minutes into the piece, and I thought, I'm not going to record these whole 2 minutes again. So yeah, you just, like Mark says, you develop tolerance for the mistakes. They're just they're part of the music. So something to think about, and to just sort of a question to ask yourself. So I want the aspects of audio video production. The actual production is really important. And I think that it's worth good money. Okay? You want to be proud of the video that's created. You want a professional job. Now you can give it a try yourself. If you enjoy learning stuff and everything, you can download video software. You can download Audacity. It's free. It's open source software. Okay? Personally, I recommend collaborating with a professional videographer. So someone who does audio video production professionally and will make your singers look great. And one of the things I feel particularly is that COVID tide is a good time to spend money. You know, artists and artistic people, the world came crashing down. They have no work. And I think this is a good time for us to encourage freelancers and people who depend on work. And I know in my congregation, I was able to find someone who would just finance these things. They're not terribly expensive, and it makes such a difference to people. So I've got here 4 audio video professionals who do this kind of work. Now, I got to tell you that I thought that I would give you a list of like 30 or 40. It's actually not as easy as I thought, but each one of these are extremely good. And I will post this with the video of all this, and as well, I'll give it to Ross to post these links on the center website. I would particularly point out Garrett Law, because this guy is a professional organist whose other life is as a filmmaker. And so he's someone who understands both things. And his website is quite wonderful. And he tells you up front how much he's going to charge per minute per chorister. So before you even email him, you know how much it's going to cost. I can say that with the 3 professional videos that I've done so far, that I've done by other people, I paid between $400 and $500 for each of them. So that's a bit like where it is. In closing, I just want to remind you that in this particular time, your choir needs you. And this, I think, collaborative videos are a way that you can bring your choir together and you can fulfill the goals of your choir. Because, you know, in the church, music is not our goal. Music is our tool. And we use a tool, the tool of music, to create our final product, which is people living authentic, rewarding, full lives. And so the people are not the servants of the music is the servant of the people. So you can do it. That is my lick to you. And we're just right on time now, but I'd be certainly happy if anybody has questions or anything. You can always email me, Gordon@stjohnsottawa.ca, and I'm totally happy to hear from you. If any of you have questions now, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll get this video posted and send a link to it to Ross. So if you have things you want to review or take a look at again, or if I've managed to put you to sleep, you know, you can check the parts that you missed while you're waiting for your coffee to kick in. I'd like to say a big thank you to the RCCO for this idea, for keeping us all together during COVID tide. It's very, very strange. And I think that it's really useful for us to all be together. Let me just see. Oh, Katerina wanted to know, how long does it take for production? I can tell you, Garrett Law on his website says that his production time is 3 weeks after receiving the videos. With my choir, because I'm doing the production now, I still want 2 weeks. And I'm not all that good at it. I'm still pretty much an amateur. So the video software that I'm using, Ross, is Power Director. If you're using a Mac, I think that iMovie comes with it, and Final Cut Pro, which is the next step up, is not all that expensive. I'm a PC guy, so I use Power Director. But there's so much, so many different aspects of software, so many different pieces of software that are available. There we go. Thank you all for being with me this morning. God bless you. Play well. Do your practicing. Wash your hands.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Okay,
Gordon.
good.
Thank you, Gordon.
Well done.
Great.
Have a good day. Take care, everybody.
You
It's
too.
good to see you.
Thanks, Gordon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Gordon. Bye-bye. Thanks, Gordon. Bye.